Hey friends, welcome to the K Canvas Studio YouTube channel. My name is Taylor Turner, but you can call me Tay. And I'm excited because this is like my first actual YouTube video of me actually talking. And I talk a lot, I like to talk, so I'm excited for this. So this series or this episode is just going to be about story times. So I have been a baker for almost 7 years, and in that time, I have been through a lot of stuff, and I want to share it with any other baker, any other cake artist, anyone else who is running a business, to know that everything is not perfect and that things happen, and it doesn't matter what happens, it matters how you handle the situation. So let's get into it. Okay, so my story time. Oh gosh, I have had a lot of cake disasters. But there's one in particular that I am still embarrassed about, just a little bit. Not like that, but just a little bit. I messed up someone's wedding cake. And I don't mean like I messed up the actual cake. I completely got the date wrong. So just stick with me so you can hear all this story, because it's crazy. Okay. So I had a client reach out to me like, hey, I want you to make my cousin's wedding cake, blah, blah, blah. So we're going back and forth via email, right? And the email, the inquiry form that she submitted said August 7th. And that's what I wrote down on my forms. So what I do every week before I start an order is I write down all the details of the order. And then I reach out to the client to confirm all of the information, just to make sure that everything's correct. So when I was writing that information down on my order sheet, I was like, oh, she put August 7th, but in our thread of emails, she said August 6th. So I was like, let me confirm with her which date she actually is referring to. So I text her and I'm like, hey, like, what's the date? Because I have one date showing August 7th and then another one showing August 6th. She's like, oh, it's actually August 6th. I'm like, okay, cool, perfect. So I thought I wrote it down, but I didn't. So instead of me writing it down, I just fucked up, honestly. So I didn't write the date down, and I thought I did. So the date that I wrote down was August 7th. Which was not the correct date. It was supposed to be August 6th, right? So that week I had like 8 cakes, and that was back in the day when I was taking all kinds of cake orders. I was just doing whatever. I was really truly overworked and overwhelmed. So I had like 8 cake orders. So I was super burnt out that week. It was a very long week for me. Like, I was already considering pulling away from baking. I really didn't want to do it anymore. And this happens. So I'm delivering a cake for one of my loyal clients, and I get a text. The text that I get is from the wedding cake client, and she's like, hey, I just want to see, like, were you en route? I'm like, oh, en route? Like, girl, what? So I was like, let me go back to the email. So I'm like, oh no, your email says August 7th. So I screenshotted the email and I sent it to her. And I said, oh, the date is for tomorrow. She was like, no, here's the screenshot of you confirming in the text thread that the date was August 6th. Y'all, like, when I tell you, I was like, wait, what? So I'm like, okay, like, I was trying to figure out how I messed this up, but I just couldn't concentrate on that. I had to really just jump into action. So I just was like, what time does it start? And, you know, what time does the reception start? If I can't get there during the ceremony, before the ceremony starts, what time does the reception start? She's like, oh, well, there's not really a reception. Girl, what you mean? She said there's not really a reception, right? So I'm like, she's like, well, the wedding starts at 2. The reception starts at 3, but it's only for an hour. So we're really only there from 3 to 4. I'm like, what? So mind you, I'm leaving Compton. A lot of you probably don't know unless you're from LA. So I live in Lakewood. I was leaving Compton. So that's about like 20 minutes with traffic. So I'm racing home, like my stomach is hurting. I have so many thoughts in my mind. And I'm just like, you know what? My baking career is over. Like, this is it. They're going to completely, like, slander me. They're going to, like, slander my business. Like, this is it for me. So I tell her, I'm like, look, I'm about to rush home. I'm coming from another delivery, but I'm going to make it. Like, give me until, like, close to 4. Like, I am going to make it. So I don't know how I thought that. Wait, let me back up real quick. So they also ordered cupcakes. So the order was for a 2-tier cake, and they also ordered, I think, 60 cupcakes. The cupcakes were out because I was gonna make the cupcakes fresh when I came home, but I really, at this point, I only have 2 hours. Like, I only have 2 hours to make this cake. About 2.5 hours. I had 2.5 hours to make this cake and to deliver it all the way to LA, and that was about 30, 35, close to 40 minutes. I was like, I had no words, okay? So I rushed home, boom, racing, speeding home. Get home, I run in the house. Mind you, I am so thankful that the cakes were at least baked. So what I do is I wrap all of my cakes. I bake my cakes earlier in the week. So like on Monday, I'll bake all my cakes. I'll wrap them up. I'll put them in the freezer, right? So I had already baked the cake. So all of her cake layers were done. Not frosted. No buttercream was made. Cupcakes were not prepped. Nothing.
Right? Nothing.
Okay? So I literally had to spring into action. I told her cupcakes were not going to happen, but I was going to give her a very generous refund, and I just started like assembling the cake. I could only do so much. I had to prep my buttercream, boom, make my buttercream, start throwing the cake together. The cake layers are completely frozen. So I typically take like, you know, a few hours or so to frost the cake, and I like to take my time because I like to be very precise. I like to snatch my edges, get those smooth sides, and I was like, look, I can't do that. I really had like 90 or so minutes at this point to get this done. And the whole time I'm frantic, I'm sweating, I'm hot, I'm stressed. I'm frosting the cake. I'm like, all right, bet, like it's coming together, but I'm still nervous because this is a 2-tier cake. I have to stack a cake on top of the cake, and it doesn't even have, I couldn't even let my buttercream really firm up like that. If you're a baker, you know what I'm talking about. Trying to let the buttercream firm up in 2 hours, in less than 2 hours, is insane. So I was only giving my buttercream like 10-15 minutes to firm up. Luckily, it was a simple cake design. Overall, it was pretty simple. I'll show you a picture here of the cake. So as you can see, this is like the final result of the cake. But I literally, as simple as this cake looks, it took me so much time. So much time. And time probably felt like it was going a little bit longer because I was so stressed out, but it was insane. So I had stacked the cake, boom, like the buttercream is still soft. So I'm trying to stack it without messing up the buttercream. Then I'm trying to re-smooth and get everything perfect. It's just not really happening. So the pearls that you see on the cake, I was literally in the kitchen throwing pearls onto the cake. Like, and thank God I already had a lot of the supplies on hand, because I was able to just easily grab them and just make it work. So I'm throwing sugar pearls on the cake. I have it on the turntable, like, ooh, bam, 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 just literally like flinging pearls onto the cake, because normally I would do it like one by one and I would just put them on. Nah, hell no. I had to just really like throw all these sugar pearls on it. And then the larger ones, I would place those on there. Okay, great. Then I had to add the flowers. Thank God I already have flowers on hand. I think I had those flowers from another order, so it was already like perfect. I already had them in the house. So boom, throwing the flowers on. I couldn't really assemble them and, you know, do them, set them up like I really wanted to. I just had to throw them on there, right? So boom, get my flowers on there. All right, great. I'm like, okay. But now I'm looking at the clock and I have like 30 minutes to get there, right? So just wait, because hold on, this is a brief intermission because I think what I'm supposed to tell y'all is to subscribe. That's what I see the other YouTubers doing, and you know I'm new here. So like, subscribe, share. I pull my car up. I live upstairs. So I pull my car out of the garage. I pull it up right into the front, and I'm taking the cake downstairs. So normally I sit all of my cakes on the seat, on the floor of the car. And as I'm putting it in the car, the back of the cake gets scraped. So now I have smeared buttercream on the back of the cake. Okay, can't pull up like that, right? So run back in the house, get me a bag of buttercream. Like, I just grab like all of my supplies, right? I grab them, and I have the cake in the car with the AC on high, and I'm literally trying to smooth the buttercream and then throw more pearls right there so that it can blend in and doesn't look like it is smeared, right? Okay. So at this point, I'm just, like, I can't wait to cry. Like, I can't wait to deliver this cake. I am beyond stressed out. My adrenaline is going. So I'm in the car. I'm not even listening to music. Like, that's how stressed out I was. I'm not listening to music. I'm driving, I'm speeding, vroom, vroom, trying to drive slow-ish so that I don't mess up the cake, but I need to make it here in enough time, right? So I'm texting her, like, again, I'm so sorry, like, I'm on my way, boom, 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 here's my ETA. So I'm like, zoom, 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 speeding through LA streets on a Saturday afternoon. Is packed. I'm in the carpool lane. I'm doing all type of stuff to get there safely, but to get there on time. So I pull up, and it's in front of like a church. You could see the people like outside of the church, like kind of just like dancing, and like everyone's kind of just chilling. And I'm just like, I don't want to go in. Like, I don't, because they're gonna come for me. Like, I can't go in. So I tell her, like, hey, I'm outside. So then, you know, she's walking outside, and I get the cake out the car, and I'm just like, I am so sorry. And I just start busting out in tears. Like, I don't cry. I'm not a crier. And I was like ugly tears. Like, ugly tears. I'm bursting in tears, crying. Like, please tell them I am so sorry. I don't know how I did this. This is not me. Like, this was a horrible mistake, and I hate that it happened to them. I hate that it happened at all. I'm just like, just so apologetic. And I was so sad. I told her, you know what, I'm going to give you all the money back. I'm going to send the refund right now. Please let them know, again, my sincerest apologies. And she's like, it's okay, it's okay. And she like gave me a hug, and then she was like, it's fine. Like, the cake is beautiful. She was like, you did this in 2 hours? Like, that's beautiful. Like, this is great. And I get back in the car, and I just called my mom, and I was just crying. Like, I am so mad at myself. Like, I can't believe I did this. Like, I was just beating myself up because she told me the date. Although her initial date was wrong, I was supposed to write that down, and I didn't. I'm crying to my mom, and mom's like, you know, it happens, and, you know, you just have to, like, learn from the situation. So I get home, I refund her all the money. Mind you, the cake and the cupcakes total is like $450. The instructor like maybe like close to $500 with delivery. Refunded everything. So it's like I pretty much just lost money, lost time, and just very stressed out. So I get home, and I just got in the bed. Like, I was so exhausted, so tired. Like, I did not know what to do. Like, I still felt so bad, like so bad. And I just got in the bed, and I just cried, and I just slept. And I had some great friends and family, because, you know, some of my friends had, like, I told them about it, and they sent me money, you know, like $50. And it was just like really, really nice. Like, So that helped, but it was still like, wow, like I messed up. Like, that's crazy. So I want to say like 2 days later, the client, the actual bride, texted me and was like, or she wrote me on Instagram, and she was like, you know, I just want to say thank you so much. She was like, we love the cake. Like, that's amazing that you pulled that off in 2 hours. She was like, don't beat yourself up about it. We completely understand things happen, and we're very understanding. COVID is, because it was in the heat of COVID. Like, this was like, COVID was like COVIDing, right? So she was like, no, like, we completely understand. There's a lot going on in the world. Like, don't stress yourself out. Like, we loved it, and we would definitely be doing business with you in the future. I was like, oh my gosh, like, that's what I needed. The money was great, you know, for my friends and my family to send me money, but it felt good to know that, like, they understood. Like, that was the closure for the situation that I needed, right? Because I felt horrible. Like, I ruined your day. Like, ruined your day. And she just confirmed, like, you did not ruin my day. Like, it's 100% okay. So after that day, there was a few lessons that I learned. And one of the lessons are to double, triple check yourself. You can't always trust yourself. You can't. So I did the right thing by reaching out to the client, saying like, hey, is this correct? I think I have the wrong date. She confirmed. She held up her end. She confirmed what the date was. At that time, I should have stopped what I was doing, and I should have updated it on my order sheet. Because I'm not looking in text messages once I'm in the kitchen. I'm looking at my order sheet. So the lesson for me was to become more, I needed to become more organized, and I needed to slow down. That was a confirmation. You're doing too much. You have too many orders. You're too all over the place. Either you're going to hire help or you're going to slow it down. And that's what I did. I slowed it down because I was not going to risk my reputation or my business's reputation for $1, for popularity, for to say that I'm booked and busy. Like, it wasn't worth that at all. So this experience stays with me and has stayed with me since it's happened. Not in a negative way, but in a way of like, no, double check. I don't care what it is. Double check the address. Double check the pickup time. Double check the delivery times. Double check the design, the spelling of the name. We're not taking any chances with any dissatisfaction. You know, we're holding up our end of the bargain, and we're delivering on what exactly the client said that they wanted. That's it. And nothing else is going to come in between that. And that is the biggest lesson that I learned. I also learned to be nice to yourself. In the moment, I had a lot of emotions, and it was the first time something like this has happened to me. So it was hard, and it was very difficult for me to really like understand that this is a part of it. But now looking back on it, like, I should have been a little nicer to myself. I should have really just kind of allowed myself to feel what I felt, but then also forgiving myself. It was great that the client forgave me, but I needed to also extend that same forgiveness to myself, because we're human. We make mistakes, and it's not the end of the world. It may seem like that at the beginning, but it's not. So just be really nice and kind to yourself. Thanks so much for listening to my story time. I have a lot of other cake disasters and stories to share with you. This YouTube channel will be focused on business tips, on sharing my progression, how I've gotten to where I am today, and just to motivate other people to know that it's not an overnight success. You have to ride the waves of the journey to get to where you want to go.